Good morning, students. Welcome to Good Samaritan School online classes. In the last classes, we discussed on how the pH of solution works. In that, we did some example experiments also in that last video, and we discussed how the universal indicator, that is pH paper, react with acids, bases as well as in neutral substances. For that, we tried with the lemon, water and soap, right? And the color changes also we have noticed it, and if it is red, orange or some yellowish color, then it will be acidic. If it is a dark color like a dark green or a blue, indigo or violet color comes, then it is basic. And always a pure water resembles a light green in color. Today we are going to discuss on the importance of pH in everyday life. In our day-to-day life also we are experiencing the pH. So that is what we are going to learn in our topic, today's topic. Right. Are animals and plants also have a pH sensitive? Yes, they do have. Here these are the topics we are going to discuss. Plants and animals are having pH sensitive, pH in soil, pH in our digestive system. A pH can change the tooth decay. pH, that means some animals using their acids with themselves to protect from their prey. So how they do that? So these are the things we are going to discuss today. Okay, let's start with the first one. Plants and animals have pH sensitive. Yes, our body works with the pH range of 7 to 7.8. So our bodies also have a pH sensitive. So our body works the range of 7 to 7.8, that means neutral to basic. Living organisms survive only in the narrow range of pH change. When pH of rainwater less than 5.6, it is called acid rain. When acid rain flows into the river, then it lowers the pH of the river water. The survival of aquatic life in such rivers becomes difficult. So we see that if the acid rain comes, then the pH range of acid rain is 5.6. We think what happens when it comes to a river water. When it flows onto the river water, then the pH may differ 5.6 to a little bit like 6 or 7, and that if it is more aquatic animals are living there, definitely the survival of the aquatic life in such rivers become very difficult, because acid rain can affect these animals also. So that is what here we learned. The plants also affected when the acid rain comes. Animals do also affect. Humans also sometimes after a long time, when the rain comes, if you go and play on that rain, even we feel our eyes are getting burning. We feel that itching on our eyes. And also when you come to a home and take bath, and you see that our eyes become red in color, maybe this is also the reason of an acid rain. Okay. There is a box given on your book at page number 27, acids in our planet, in other planets. Yes, some planets like Venus is made up of a thick white and yellowish cloud of sulfuric acid. That means if think of that, is it possible that life will exist in that planet? It's not even possible, because you see that the thick clouds of an sulfuric acid means it's very dangerous. Okay, the next thing, what is the pH of soil in our backyard? You can also test this. Take some soil, an activity also given here in your book at 2.12. You see that put 2 gram of soil in a test tube, add 5 ml of water, shake the content of the test tube, and then filter the content collect the filtrate of the test tube, then what you should do, take a pH paper. In the last video we did a pH paper, a yellow color strip, and then touch that pH paper with that water. What you will notice, if it turns to a color like this, then definitely the soil will have acidic in nature. If the color will changes to a color like this, then it will be as basic in nature. So, we should take some preventive measures to balance this. What we can do, if the soil is too acidic, some farmers they used to do that. They take lots of calcium powders like a tuna and they will throw it on the fields. What happened? This calcium oxide, that quicklime mixed with water become calcium hydroxide, and they are really basic and it neutralizes the acidic. So that we can use these kind of techniques also in our backyard. That is what we are given. Plants require a specific pH range for a healthy growth. So, to find out the pH required for the healthy growth of plant, so what you should do is, you can collect the soil from various places and check the pH in the manner described below. So, what we did, you can even you can take a backyard and take some soil and you can test like this, and also you can go to roadside and collect some soil from there, and also you can test the pH, right, and you can take some soil from the sewer, okay, and you can test the soil nature. So, and you can compare them, what is the acidic soil, basic and neutral type of soils. Right. The next thing is pH in our digestive system. Of course, we have a strong hydrochloric acid present in our stomach, right? It secretes when it needs. So, why this kind of a strong acid present in our stomach? The reason is, it helps in the digestion of food without harming the stomach. So, during the indigestion, the stomach produces too much acid and this causes pain and irritation. So, when we eat lot of food, or sometimes we eat late time food, so what happens, that the food won't digest properly. So, to digest that food, our stomach will secrete lots of hydrochloric acid. So, what happens, acidity increases. When it increases, we get a lot of pain and irritation on our chest or on our stomach. So, what we do to get rid of this pain, people use bases, some kind of antacid they used to take, and even it's in our home, right? We have a Gelusil or a Digen, right? Sometimes you take Eno or whatever it is. Why we should take like all these things? Because to neutralize the acid present in our stomach. So, what happens when these antacids neutralize the excess acid? And mainly the antacid consists of these things like magnesium hydroxide is the chemical, that is base present in the milk of magnesia, that is a antacid, a mild base which often used for this purpose. Okay. The next thing is pH changes as the cause of a tooth decay. Tooth decay starts only when the mouth goes down to pH of 5.5. That means when the pH range comes to 5.5, then it is acidic. So, we have a strong coating on our tooth, that is the hardest substance in our body. One of the hardest substance in our body is coated on our teeth. The name of that is calcium phosphate. This is also one of the MCQ type 1 mark question, you should keep it in your mind. So, what happened, it does not dissolve in water, even you pour lots of water, it does not dissolve, but it is corroded when the pH is a mouth below 5.5. So, when our mouth will be always 5.5, that means acidic, then it easily corrodes our enamel. And enamel, what is enamel? It is calcium phosphate. This is the coating which is present on the enamel. So, okay, the bacteria present in our mouth, mostly what happens, these are the things which produce acids, and acids by degradation of sugar and food particle remaining in the mouth. So after eating a food, if you are not washing your teeth properly, that means we used to have lots of acids formed on our mouth. So what we should do? We should brush our teeth by using a toothpaste. Right. The toothpaste generally they are basic in nature and it neutralize the acid present in our mouth. Okay. The last thing is self-defense by animals and plants through chemical warfare. You can see honeybee. Honeybee, when the stings on you, what happens? It inject an acid on your body, and that is a formic acid. Formic acid, in other word, the mild acid, it's a weak acid, but once it is injected in our skin, under your skin, it causes lots of pain and irritation. Even if it stings on you, next time you can do one thing, you come back to home, put some baking soda on that place, add some water, then immediately baking soda consists of, yes, it is a base, sodium hydrogen carbonate. Once you apply it on the place of an bee sting, it neutralizes the acid, right. So stinging hairs of nettle leaves inject methanoic acid causing a burning. Even some of the plants also have this. You can see in the next page, page number 28. These are the nettle. It is an herbivorous plant, but when you touch these plants, we feel irritation and paining a lot, because these plants they have a methanoic acid which is on our and that very fine needles. So that is why we should avoid these plants by touching this. Okay, some all these things are all why they have, because to defend themselves from the other animals or plants, right. So these are the topics we have learned, and there are questions which is given in your book at page number 28. You can go through that questions, and this is your homework. So what you should do is write down the answer for these 4 questions, and this will be very easy questions are there, and I want everyone to write down these questions on your copy, take a picture and send to my WhatsApp number. Clear, student? Okay. But the main topic today we are going to learn is about salt. What are salts? Salts are nothing but when an acid react with a base, it produces salt and water. Okay, this is how salt produce. For example, I am going to take an acid of hydrochloric acid and the base of sodium hydroxide. When it react with each other, H is positive, chlorine is negative, Na is positive, sodium hydroxide is negative. So this positive will go and catch the negative ions. So what happened? It gives the salt sodium chloride and the remaining water. So this is how the salt produced. Okay, so it consists of a cation and an anion. That means the salt contains the cation of the base. So this is the base. See, it takes the cation of the base, positive of the base, and the anion of the acid. So this is the anion of the acid. Sodium hydrochloric acid is the acid, and what is the cation and anion in that? Hydrogen is the cation and chlorine is the anion. So it catches, or in other words, the salt contain the cation of a base and anion of an acid. Clear, student? Okay. So if you learn about acid, definitely we should learn the family of an acid. We can you have a activity given in your book 2.13. I want you to go through this activity, and also activity 2.14 given in your book. Please go through this. After we discuss on the family of an acid, I want everyone to do this homework in your home and try to find out what I told you to do. Okay. Salts of strong acid and strong base, they always produce a neutral salt. Okay, if I take a strong acid, hydrochloric acid is a strong acid. Strong base is sodium hydroxide. Sodium hydroxide is a strong base. When these two combines together, it gives what salt? Sodium chloride. And this sodium chloride is always neutral. That's what I want to tell you. When the salt produced by adding strong acid and strong base, it always be neutral. The pH always 7. Neutral means always 7. So, for this example, you can take this example also. Clear? In other case, you can see the second case. If I take a strong acid but a weak base, then it gives an acidic salt. The salt will be there. It's a salt actually, but the nature of the salt is actually an acidic salt. Okay, let's try one example for this. So, strong acid and a weak base. Okay, let's take even the same acid, hydrochloric acid. Okay, we'll take another acid, sulfuric acid, H2SO4. Sulfuric acid is a strong acid. And the base I am going to take here is zinc hydroxide. We'll take zinc hydroxide, and this is a weak base. Clear? So, if I take both the things, so what happens when these two things react together? This is H plus and SO4 minus, zinc plus. As we learnt here, what is that? Salt always contain cation of the base. So, this is the base. Cation means this Zn, zinc, and anion of the acid. This is the anion. So, these two things combines together. And what is the salt form? Yes, zinc sulfate. Always metal should be written on the front and the non-metal on the next. And what is going to be the combined? Yes, it forms H2O. To balance this, I have to put 2 in front of it. And this is a salt. But the salt formed when a strong acid and a weak base combine, they always an acidic salt. Clear? Acidic salt. And the pH of acidic salt is always less than 7. Understood? Why we are learning this very importantly? The reason is, this is one of the very important questions. Sometimes they ask you to find out. They will give you the salt itself directly, and they ask you to find out what is the nature of that salt. Can we do one more example? Yes. Let's try another example. Here I have taken strong base and a weak acid, and it gives a basic salt. For that, I am going to take a strong base, will take sodium hydroxide as a strong base, and weak acid I am going to take H2CO. What is this? H2CO3, it is a carbonic acid. Okay, weak acid. So, what happens when it react? Na plus, and this is H plus, and this is minus. Okay, so what happened? Base with, yes, so it forms, and another hydrogen also comes along with it. It forms NaHCO3, that is sodium hydrogen carbonate is formed, and this is a basic salt, and with H2O. Clear? This is how they form. When a strong base react with weak acid, it always gives a basic salt. Clear? Okay, sometimes in your exam they will give you like that. For example, the question comes like copper sulfate. Copper sulfate. Find out copper sulfate whether it is acidic or basic in nature. That the salt of copper sulfate is acidic salt or a basic salt. Okay, shall we do that? Copper sulfate. What this copper sulfate consists of? They have copper in that is CuSO4. That means copper and sulfate. And copper, it comes from the base, and sulfate comes from an acid. You try to identify what acid may be. Yes, H2SO4. Sulfuric acid consists of sulfate in that, right? From that only this sulfate comes. And where this copper comes from? Maybe from copper hydroxide. Clear? So, we identified now this is the acid and this is the base. Shall we try now to how this salt form? Okay. So, this sulfuric acid is a strong acid, right? So, we write H2SO4, sulfuric acid is the strong acid. When it combines with copper hydroxide is the weak base. Okay, let us see what happens. It forms copper sulfate plus H2O, and this copper sulfate is the, can you identify now, when a strong acid react with a weak base, it forms, yes, acidic salt. So, this is how they form. Understand? Okay, student. Today, so what we learned on importance of pH in our day-to-day life activities, and also we learned about salt and the family of salts. Clear? If you have any doubt on this topic, what we learned today, please ask questions through my personal WhatsApp number. Clear? So, and the homework also I gave you, please try to complete this homework. Clear? And also in this description I am going to give you some of the salt name, and you have to find out whether it is acidic or basic salt. Clear? So, two homework for you. One is you have to finish this 4 questions given in page number 28, and also the salt name that I am going to give you in the description, and even I am going to write now. These are the salt which is given, and I will give this same salt in the description also. Try to find out whether it is acidic or basic in nature. Okay, student, stay safe, and this is the end of the topic. Thank you.